Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Sports performance anxiety and the fear of failure are the two most common mental game challenges that I help athletes overcome. Now, sports performance anxiety refers to those feelings of intense nervousness before games. This is where you are really worried about what may or may not happen, and those nerves get the best of you. Fear of failure is very similar, except this fear of failure is focused on mistakes, so you are afraid of making mistakes. Now, it's very common that we're going to see the fear of failure and sports performance anxiety both exhibited within a single athlete because the two play into one another. So a really great example of this is that you are afraid of making mistakes because you don't want to get benched, right? So you are afraid of making mistakes in the upcoming game. Now, what do you think will happen as you feel that fear? Well, as you feel that fear, naturally you'll start to worry about how you're going to play. As you begin to worry about how you'll play, those worries turn into anxiety, and then the nervousness grows. And then right before the game begins, the more anxious you get, right? The more nerves you feel, the more you will start to be afraid of how you will perform, especially if you have a past experience where you've noticed yourself feeling anxious and then you underperformed. So we're going to see the fear of failure and this sports performance anxiety play into one another. Now, why is this such a bad thing, right? Why is the fear of failure and why is sports anxiety hurtful to you as an athlete? Well, if you've ever played with a lot of anxiety or nerves before a game, or if you've been incredibly afraid of making mistakes, you know why. It's because it holds you back, right? It causes you to play tense, to play stiff, to be rigid out there. It causes you to play it safe. A great example of this is not wanting to get involved. So I work with a lot of basketball and soccer players, and when they are dealing with fear or anxiety, it's very natural for them to not call for the ball as much, to pass the ball away when they get it because they don't want to make mistakes. It can feel safer to get the ball away from you than to hold on to the ball and to dribble and to try to make something happen. A lot of times with baseball and softball players, this might look like you being in the field, not really wanting the ball to be hit to you because you are afraid of what will happen if it is hit to you, and you're so anxious about what the future is going to hold for you. No matter what sport you play, fear and anxiety will hold you back during your performance, and one of the main reasons this happens is because of avoidance. So when we have something in our minds that we want to avoid, right? And so if you're anxious or you are afraid, typically this will be mistakes. You want to avoid mistakes. The easiest option for us mentally is to try to play it safe to avoid making those mistakes. Now, this is a great way for our brains to respond if we were in the wild and we were trying to avoid a danger, but in games, the danger or the perceived danger is making mistakes. But when we try to avoid mistakes, that's where we hold ourselves back. So this is where a lot of athletes will tell me, and it's something I personally experienced, they leave games disappointed. Not disappointed because they made a ton of mistakes, but disappointed because they held themselves back. They were the reasons that they underperformed. They hesitated. They played with their foot on the brake. And all of this comes back to sports performance anxiety, fear of failure, and this need to avoid mistakes, to avoid the negative outcome that you don't want to have happen. So why is this fear and anxiety there in the first place? Well, at the core of fear and anxiety is something known as outcome-oriented thinking. What outcome-oriented thinking means is that you are thinking too much about the future. Case in point, not wanting to make mistakes in the upcoming game. But you also might be thinking about a positive outcome, such as how badly you want to play well. This is seen in a lot of athletes who are dealing with sports anxiety. They really want to play well, so they become anxious about playing well. But what do you think happens the more you try to force that outcome, right? Because you really want to play well. Well, this is where you are trying to control the future. Like I said, you try to force that outcome, and now you're not playing naturally and freely and in the flow of the game. But at the core of this anxiety and fear is outcome-oriented thinking. So something that we want to work on is we want to work on understanding how that type of thinking is driving the anxiety and fear that you feel in the moment. And then what we also want to do is we want to figure out what do we need to focus on and where do we need to place our attention instead. And the instead is always going to be the present, onto what you can control, onto what actually leads to those results that you want. Now, this is by no means an easy task, and something that also plays into this fear and anxiety is your thinking, right? Your self-talk, the way you are talking to yourself during games, the way you're talking to yourself before games, all of that plays into it as well. And then we also have to take a look at how we respond to mistakes and how we view mistakes. If you view mistakes as purely negative, this is going to increase that fear and anxiety you have because Mistakes are something that need to be avoided, right? They are negative. They're something that means I didn't play well. But if we can try to view mistakes as learning experiences, ways to improve, and then almost more importantly, if in the moment we can respond positively and productively to mistakes, that's going to do wonders on managing this fear and anxiety. So all in all, we know that if you are playing with fear and anxiety, you will be playing below your potential. And not to mention just the fun that gets sucked out of the game for you when you do play with this fear and anxiety. Now, as I mentioned, fear and anxiety are two of the most common mental game challenges that I help athletes manage in one-on-one mental coaching. But they are also two challenges that I personally experienced a lot when I was playing baseball. I dealt with a ton of anxiety and a ton of fear. Fear and anxiety that made me question wanting to play time and time again. And a lot of times I was even hoping that I didn't have to go to the game because I wanted to avoid this fear and anxiety. So I know firsthand how hurtful this can be on you and your performance. And so knowing how hurtful this is to you as an athlete, what I wanted to do is create a program that was outside of my normal one-on-one coaching that would be a little bit more accessible to more athletes. And so that's why I created a 6-week program that is tailored to helping you conquer your fear and anxiety as an athlete. Now, this is a 6-week online course, and I've taken the very same tools, techniques, and strategies that I use in one-on-one mental coaching, and I have put them into this course to teach you everything you need to know about letting go of the outcome, being present, having positive self-talk, managing mistakes, and much more. So the way that this course is structured is that, like I said, it's a 6-week program, and each week you'll be walked through a different topic that will be targeted toward helping you build positive mental skills and conquering your fear and anxiety. Each week we'll start off with a lecture video that describes the topic and discusses how this is impacting and how this helps your fear and anxiety. And then what you're going to be walked through are 5 daily mental training videos. Now, one of the keys to success in one-on-one mental coaching is action. So athletes and I have really great conversations about their fear and anxiety, but then if they really have success, right, they really make the change, it's because they take what we talk about and they apply it. They don't just apply it to games, but they also go through exercises and worksheets to start repping these ideas. And that's what you're going to be able to do with these daily videos. You're going to be walked through a daily exercise that I encourage you to follow along with within each one of these videos. And the weeks are going to build upon one another. And by the end of this program, you're going to be equipped with all the different strategies, tools, and techniques that you need to continue to strengthen your mindset, have more confident thinking, be more present, and overall conquer this fear and anxiety that is currently holding you back. So if you're ready to conquer your fear and anxiety as an athlete, click the link that I put in the description below to learn more about getting started with this program.